Donald Trump made a big promise during his campaign. He wants to get rid of the Department of Education entirely. This department is responsible for things like funding for public schools, student loans, and programs that help low-income students succeed. Trump says the department is pushing inappropriate ideas about race, gender, and politics on kids. But here's the catch. Trump can't just snap his fingers and make it disappear overnight. Congress has to agree, and that's going to be a tough sell for him. Getting rid of the Department of Education isn't as easy as Trump might think. It's a complex process that involves multiple layers of government and a lot of political maneuvering. It requires a vote in Congress, and even then, he might need a supermajority in the Senate. This means he would need more than just a simple majority. He would need a significant number of votes to push it through. While the Republicans have more seats, they don't have enough to do it alone. The political landscape is such that bipartisan support is often necessary for major legislative changes. They need Democrats on their side, and that's about as likely as finding a unicorn riding a roller coaster. The two parties are often at odds, making cooperation on such a controversial issue highly unlikely. Last year they tried to do something similar. They attempted to abolish the department by sneaking it into another bill, hoping it would pass without much scrutiny. It failed miserably. The bill was voted down, and the effort was seen as a significant political miscalculation. Even some Republicans voted against it. This was a clear indication that not everyone in the party was on board with the idea. This shows just how difficult it will be for Trump to actually make good on his promise. The political reality is that such sweeping changes require not just a strong mandate, but also a willingness to engage in bipartisan dialogue and compromise. Public opinion also plays a crucial role. Many Americans have mixed feelings about the Department of Education, and any attempt to dismantle it would likely face significant public scrutiny and opposition. Protests and rallies could erupt, further complicating the political landscape. Lawmakers would have to consider the will of their constituents, making the path to abolishing the department even more fraught with challenges. In the end, the promise to get rid of the Department of Education is more than just a political talking point. It's a complex issue that requires careful navigation through the intricate web of American politics. The Department of Education does a lot of important things. It plays a crucial role in shaping the educational landscape of the United States. It manages student loans and gives out Pell Grants, which help low-income students pay for college. These financial aids are lifelines for many students who might otherwise be unable to afford higher education. It also funds programs for students with disabilities and those living in poverty. These programs ensure that every student, regardless of their background or abilities, has access to quality education and the support they need to succeed. And let's not forget about civil rights. The department makes sure schools that receive federal funding aren't discriminating based on race or gender. This is vital for creating an inclusive and fair educational environment for all students. Believe it or not, the Department of Education doesn't actually eat up that much of the federal budget. Despite its extensive responsibilities, it operates on a relatively small budget. It only gets about 2%. This small slice of the budget is used efficiently to make a significant impact, but its impact is huge, affecting millions of students all over the country. From urban schools to rural classrooms, the Department of Education's policies and programs touch every corner of the nation, striving to improve educational outcomes and opportunities for all. Section 4. Republicans say, "No more woke education." Republicans have been trying to get rid of the Department of Education for decades. This isn't a new battle, it's been ongoing for years. Ronald Reagan even talked about it when he was running for president back in 1980. He believed that education should be more localized and less influenced by federal mandates. They say the department is too concerned with pushing a woke agenda, especially when it comes to issues of gender and race. Critics argue that this focus detracts from core educational goals like math, science, and literacy. They believe these decisions should be made at the state level, not by the federal government. Local control, they argue, allows for more tailored and effective educational policies that reflect the values and needs of the community. They'd rather see things like loan administration handled by the Department of Treasury. This would streamline financial processes and potentially reduce bureaucratic red tape, and civil rights violations dealt with by the Department of Justice. This separation of duties could lead to more specialized and effective handling of these important issues. Basically, they want to shrink the federal government's role in education and give more power to the states. By doing so, they hope to create a more efficient and responsive educational system that better serves students and communities. Supporters of this approach believe that local educators and parents are better equipped to make decisions that directly impact their children's education. They argue that a one-size-fits-all federal approach often misses the mark. The debate over the role of the federal government in education is far from over. As society evolves, so too will the discussions about how best to educate future generations. Whether or not the Department of Education will be dismantled remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the conversation about education reform is more important than ever. Section 5. School choice. Is it the answer? Trump and his supporters are big fans of something called school choice, a concept they strongly advocate for. This means giving parents more options besides their assigned public school, expanding their choices. They could get money to send their kids to private schools, charter schools, or even homeschool them if they prefer. The idea is to give parents more control over their children's education and create competition among schools, driving improvement. They believe this will lead to better schools and happier students, enhancing overall educational experiences. But whether or not school choice is the answer is a whole other debate, with many differing opinions.